From WKVE Studios, this is Economic News starring Catherine Sanchez and Victoria Sierra.
Here's Catherine Sanchez with October's unemployment facts.
The employment situation for the month of October is as follows. The number of unemployed persons and the unemployment rate has changed little. Unemployment rate has remained in a narrow range from 9 to 9.2% since April. However, the number of long-term unemployed declined to 5.9 million, or 42.4% of total unemployment. And the numbers of persons employed part-time for economic reasons decreased by 374,000 to 8.9 million in October.
And here's Vicky Sierra with a review of today's gold stocks.
In today's review of the stock market, we'll be looking at gold prices. Now, the day started with high prices, but they quickly plummeted within a 3-hour time frame. Prices slowly climbed thereafter, but ultimately they closed at a much lower price than where they started. Now, this price drop was more than likely caused by a number of events, most notably the news that the U.S. Super Committee failed to cut costs. Now, although the Super Committee was created to cut costs, it was a well-known fact that they made extremely little progress. As soon as the committee formed, they went in with one side voting unanimously together, which formed a stalemate and made any potential decisions impossible to make. But in addition to this surprising Super Committee news, the news that Spain dismissed their government was equally as astonishing. Now, both these shocking pieces of news were delivered within hours of each other, and they both complemented each other and generously contributed to that price freefall. On that note, let's take a look at the euro. The news of Spain's dismissed government followed in the wake of Italy's prime minister stepping down. That makes 5 of over 20 failed governments in the European Union, and others appear to be following. France and Belgium seem to be on a similar track as Greece, and while Germany has been responsible with their borrowing and spending, some investors are beginning to worry about them. Now, with the news of Spain's fallen government, many have been calling for the European Central Bank to start monitoring government spending so to avoid more debt in already debt-ridden countries. The question now is whether or not they will enact a plan to do just that. They've been throwing around ideas, but they've yet to put any of these ideas into action. And their procrastination doesn't help since they made no security nets when they first created the euro. And while all of this is going on, it is crucial for the European Union to maintain a calm facade and dispel any rumors that they might disband. If there was any news of this, there would easily be a worldwide calamity. Speaking of the euro, how's the debt been doing in Europe, Catherine?
Not so good, Vicky. Europe's debt has been heading downhill since March 2nd of this year, when Standard & Poor's, a leader of the financial market intelligence, decided to keep Portugal and Greece on watch for possible downgrade.
5 days later, Moody's, another investment service, cut Greece's credit ratings to B1 from Ba1. Credit ratings are the assessment of a country's ability to pay back its debt. Throughout May, Standard & Poor's, as well as Fitch Ratings, slashed down Greece's long-term credit ratings and debt ratings. Greece, under pressure from Germany and other Eurozone members to reduce its massive debt burden, says it will accelerate its long-delayed plans to sell off 50 billion euros of state-owned assets over the next 5 years. The Greek government says it will move forward plans to sell stakes in some of its most valuable assets, including state-owned banks. Then on June 1st, the European Union, International Monetary Fund, and Greek government officials realized that Greece needed another injection of financial aid to cover its financial needs. Discussions began for the European Union and International Monetary Fund to grant Greece a fresh loan to bridge funding gaps in 2012 and possibly also 2013. The loan volume was seen at about 43.18 billion a year. 13 days later, Standard & Poor's cut ratings on Greece's debt by 3 notches, citing risks that negotiations over a new bailout package for Greece could result in a default. The agency then lowered its ratings from B to CCC, 1 notch lower than Moody's Investors Services, which slashed its ratings on Greece at the start of the month. Greece then panicked and elected a new finance minister in the hopes of paving the way for approval of loans. On June 30th, Greece's parliament passed legislation implementing a crucial 5-year $40.99 billion austerity plan, 1 day after a closely fought parliamentary vote approved the overall outlines of the bill.
Now, did these changes improve Greece's status among investment agencies?
Sadly, no. On July 13th, Fitch downgraded its long-term foreign and local currency issuer default ratings to CCC from B+, placing the ratings 8 levels below investment grade status. However, the drop in ratings did not deter Eurozone leaders from agreeing on a new $157 billion bailout for Greece on July 21st, as well as new steps to prevent its debt crisis from metastasizing across the continent in a plan expected to trigger the first debt default by a nation using the common currency. But Moody's shot this deal down 4 days later when they cut Greece's credit ratings 3 notches deeper into junk territory, warning that the country's latest bailout deal implies a default. Standard & Poor's backed up Moody's statement 2 days later by concluding that the proposed restructuring of the nation's government debt would amount to a selective default. Since then, Greece has been attempting to make changes to bring its unruly budget deficit into line that are sufficient enough for the other Eurozone nations in order to receive an aid package.
What has the European Union done for its other debt-ridden nations?
Well, on March 11th of this year, European Union leaders agreed on rules for a permanent €500 billion bailout fund from 2013. This fund, which will be known as the European Stability Mechanism, will replace the present €440 billion European Financial Stability Facility. The EFSF was set up this past year to provide support to Eurozone nations, but had to be replaced with this new plan in order to lend more money to its debt-drowning nations. This plan was put into action a tad too late for Portugal, though, who 12 days later's government collapsed. This left no one watching the amount of debt the country was acquiring. Soon Moody and Standard & Poor's were dropping Portugal's credit ratings left and right, leaving them to become the third European nation to ask for a bailout. Unlike with Greece, on May 3rd, the European Union and International Monetary Fund agreed to a €78 billion financial bailout program over 3 years to help Portugal's ailing economy. Since then, Portugal has taken steps to keeping funds low by selling 5% of their short-dated debt and having a new government in place, boosting prospects for austerity measures tied to a bailout program. However, they are not fully out of the debt hole yet, because on June 10th, Moody announced that the credit ratings for 7 Portugal banks were under review for a possible downgrade due to a challenging environment in which to raise capital and maintain profitability. What does this have to do with America's economy? Well, if Europe goes, America goes with it, due to how tied our economies are together.
This newscast brought to you by Zephyrhills Auction Inc. We sell cars.